Hari Om. Today we are going to talk of intelligent living. We are going to talk of the mechanisms of the mind that allow us to live intelligently, and we will draw from the best of the modern science and the best of the ancient Indian philosophy. I'm going to put a lot of questions to you, so please be alert and read them. Do you agree? Also, in this conference on gift, what is the greatest gift that we are bestowed with as a species? Any guesses? It is the most evolved brain with the most efficient capabilities of the intellect. And what is that? For example, we can hold this gift conference. Now, what is unique about the human brain? Our universe is supposed to have around 10 raised to 89 particles, but our brain is capable of making 10 raised to 1 million connections. And besides that, we are also having what we call free will, ability to make choices, to alter our behaviors and perceptions towards our desired goals, and to maximize our accomplishments. And all this, ideally and possibly, with keeping our peace and harmony and bliss. But how many of us can actually claim that we are using our intellect to the fullest, our potential to the fullest? And are we doing things which are actually limiting our intellect and our accomplishments, and also that we are not using our so-called evolved equipment better than the other species or the animals? As Swami Chinmaya used to say, that must we pursue programmed living, be like animals, or an inspired living? IQ, EQ, you might have heard of intelligent quotient, emotional intelligence, but Indian philosophy talks of creative quotient, spiritual quotient, and wisdom quotient. Basically, can we attain wisdom such that we know how to use the knowledge that we have in the best possible way for the best possible use of everyone, including ourselves? And I'm sure you agree with this. There is none who would not want these things. And isn't all of us aware that our life is a series of challenges? Some of them may be positive, some of them may be negative. And very interestingly, have these words been registered by you like this, as shown here? In fact, it's so beautiful that even English words tell us how to achieve that very quality that that word signifies. And even India. So how do we achieve these goals? And as we experience when we go for an adventure travel or picnics, whatever comes as a hardship, we actually see it as fun. We see it as something to cherish. But in life, a problem or a negative situation is seen as a hardship, as something to be depressed or something to be sorrowed about. Shouldn't we live our life as we live in adventure travel? And then, is there any manual that actually helps us live it that way? Live in that way? And do we know what that manual could be or how to do that? And most of us go to science to tell us how. But can it deliver this? Many times science itself is not very sure of what it is talking of, or what it knows, or what it suggests, especially when it comes to brain and mind. As I told you, our brain is the most complex thing, even more complex than the universe. So can we look for such answers or such manual elsewhere? And Indian philosophy has given Bhagavad Gita. It is one of the most beautiful renditions of how to use our minds and brains the most intelligently. And what is given in Gita? It is actually the handbook of psychology, mind mechanics, cognitive science, neuroscience, call it whatever you may. It is a manual which tells us how we can influence our perceptions to live intelligently. And it does not just teach about mind and brain. It also tells us what should be our goals and the ways and means and techniques, wonderful techniques, varied techniques to achieve and accomplish those goals. And what is most important, it gives us in and it, never found in other philosophies. And this has been corroborated by the greats like Arvind Schrödinger and Max Muller. In fact, Arvind Schrödinger has said that science should look to Indian philosophy for inspiration. And he was so overwhelmed by the Indian philosophy, and especially the Upanishads, that even on his tombstone, the epitaph, he has written some beautiful sentences from our Upanishads. And Max Muller, he has claimed that he has studied all the various philosophies of the world, and he has found none so beautiful, so complete as the Indian one. Shouldn't you be proud of the heritage that you come from? Can you ever forget yourself? Do you ever get up and say, oh, I've forgotten myself? But in terms of what Gita claims, possibly we are disconnected from ourselves. Imagine that you have a most powerful friend like the US President, and he has not forgotten you, but you have forgotten that, like Sudama did. Is that a good situation to be in? And in the same way, the most powerful entity in the universe, what Indian philosophy calls it as Ishvara, the governor of the universe, is our closest friend, our soulmate. No, not even soulmate, our very soul. But we have forgotten, we have forsaken it, probably due to our education or ignorance. In fact, most of modern education leads to ignorance. So, how do we try to connect this in, so-called Atman, to that it or Paramatman? In fact, today even science has started talking of these kinds of terms, and they call it local consciousness and non-local consciousness. And there's a wonderful book that you should read called Galileo's Error. And what does the Indian philosophy say, or the Gita say? That it is you. That's the only real love that you have. And Gita gives us the best ways and means, no matter what our inclinations, no matter what our shortcomings, no matter what stage in life we are in. Are you aware of that greatest gift? It helps us unfold and identify with our true inner love, what is called the real, everlasting, ever blissful, infinite self. Well, you may say, the Gita seems great, but I have no time. I'm busy, I'm studying. I have to still educate myself, I have to still do my job. Can I get the message of Gita in one line? And that's the amount of time we have, no matter how much time we spend on WhatsApp. Gita in one line? Well, that's the beauty of Gita. And that one line is that we should live our life without the external life by centering within, by connecting with our ins and it. Or, if you don't like this line, to tune our mind within and then only act without. Or, if you don't like even that line, then to live the life by being one with that one. And how to do that? You may look up these shlokas mentioned below. And then we operate our lives on that centered, that inner centering, cosmic consciousness, as claimed by Gita, as claimed by Lord Krishna in the shloka 78 of chapter 18. All that we are seeking is within our access. But remember, Gita is not to be read and understood. It is to be lived, practiced. Like Arjuna, he centered himself in Krishna. And who is Arjuna? It is the Bichara me, full of aspirations, desires, without knowing how to achieve them. And who is Krishna? Krishna is being it, the super cool me, if you want to call it. So, if Arjuna has to win, Krishna lagenge. Kaise? Give the Sarthipad to Krishna, as Gita says, and the rest will follow. Victory and all will follow. So, in a sense, what Gita says is that we need to reconnect to our real self, to the divine cosmic consciousness, by any of the various means, so-called yogas given in the Gita, through its various different chapters. Basically, we have to connect with that it which is in us. And how to connect back? There are more practical tips that are given, again more slokas. But you may say that, no, this is not my type, I need even cooler stuff. I need something which is more simpler, more doable. And if you know how the brain works, if you know that no two minds are the same, then the writers of Gita knew that very well. And therefore they have given very, very different pathways very, very different methods and techniques to suit every temperament and every dispositions. But then you say, no, I am even different than that. Can Gita serve me? And what is the correct way to perceive and live life when you are full of sorrow, fear, depression, and other negativities? And Gita says, even that, even your negativity can become a yoga, can be used to connect to that in and it. See chapter on Arjuna Vishad Yoga. And as we live our lives, one of the biggest hurdles that we face or we come across is what goals to pursue, is to select the goals to pursue and then how to pursue them or what choices to make to pursue them. And decision making, as it is called, is one of the most complex, even in science. Even modern science is trying to grapple with how to understand how we make decisions or what decisions to be made. But Gita makes that even simple, and it says that do something as mentioned in Shloka 10 of chapter 10, and you will get Buddhi Yoga, you will get the intellect to do what is needed or needful. Now, there are so many yogas that Gita talks of, but are they scientific? Because I am educated, I don't believe hearsay, I don't believe in superstition. Well, let's take the most famous shloka, Karmanyavadikaraste, actually chapter 2, shloka 47. Now there's been research done on this, in fact. So, researchers taught chimpanzees to paint, and these chimps started painting very well. So, being American scientists as they were, they thought that if we give them more rewards, we give them bananas, for example, then they would paint even better. So what they did is, they started giving bananas every time they made a good painting. What would have happened after some time? The monkeys started waiting for the reward rather than working on the painting, and their painting quality naturally suffered. And this is precisely what this shloka says, that you should be work conscious, not reward conscious. And you know what is common between exercise, meditation, and chocolate? This is something that was discovered as recently as 1992, that our bodies release its own drugs, its own cannabis-like drugs or chemicals called endocannabinoids, and one of the most interesting one of them is called anandamide. What it does is, it's a chemical which affects the whole body. It's a feel-good chemical, but without the side effects of the external cannabinoids. Now you may say, oh, all this is great, it is scientific, but I don't have time. Can you give me something as simple as eating a chocolate? Is there any scientific, simple, and easy way? Well, this is what Gita is full of. No matter what you ask, and Gita will have an answer for it. That is why it has got so many shlokas. One for each question that you would have, or could possibly have. It is actually a beautiful handbook of the human mind and the human brain and the human perception. Yes, it says, look at shloka 7 of chapter 8. Sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. It says, do nothing. Whatever you do, just remember me, remember Krishna, remember it, and then carry on your activity. And what is the science behind this? Is it stupid, or is it superstition, or is it faith? Well, see the science. Before the start of the activity is when you are most anxious. And when you surrender, or when you just remember that name in form of a surrender, what happens is your anxiety or stress reduces. What we have found is there's something called HRV, or heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is basically the interval between the two beats, and that in healthy humans should not be the same. That means it should be varying. The more the variance, the better it is, and that variance is also connected to what is called the vagal tone. So we have something called the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, which connects all the organs below the neck to our brain. Therefore, the functioning of all the organs below the neck is actually controlled by the quality of the vagus nerve. And when you have less anxiety, less stress, when you have better HRV, your vagal tone is good, therefore your functioning of each and every organ is good, and therefore it is believed, and this is my speculation, that it releases the endocannabinoids, or something like anandamide, which affects the well-being of each and every organ of our body. Not only that, when you operate after remembering the Lord, or remembering it, whatever you want to, or remembering your consciousness, or knowing yourself as a consciousness, what happens is you then respond, you don't react. That means you have better presence of mind, all your faculties of the mind are the most alert, and therefore when you operate out of that alertness and out of that peace and joy, definitely your work has to be great, has to be good, has to be creative. That's the secret of intelligent living. Now, I am told there is a new chemical, that is also an anti-cannabinoid called virodamine. Now, God knows why most of these scientists are now using Sanskrit names for these chemicals. So then, are you game for an experiment or a dare or a challenge, whatever you want to call it? So I just introduce little bits of pieces from Gita, but if you forget everything else from Gita, and just do this experiment of this Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manusmara Yudhyaja. Do this experiment diligently for the next 21 to 284 days. And what to do? Whenever you are overpowered by temptation or a bad habit that you want to overcome. For example, you don't want to eat ice cream, but you are so tempted that you eat. All you have to do is, before eating that ice cream, remember it. Connect with that it, and then do whatever. Be it a choice to be made, be it before exams, be it before any challenges, doing whatever before doing anything and everything. Just remember it and do that activity without any kind of guilt, fear, doubt, but with full love, and see what happens. See what happens to your perceptions. And please try to share these experiences with us if possible. So, living intelligently is the gift that you get in this gift conference. Wouldn't you want to unwrap it? Hari Om.